my name is Paige, welcome to my channel. So I'm here today to do a book tag that I was tagged in by my good booktube friend Marissa Curtis. She tagged me in this a few weeks ago, and this is called the Guilty Pleasures tag, and basically it's 6 different prompts all relating like to the letters of the word guilty that I will answer about my guilty pleasure books. This tag was created by Savvy Writes Books, so thank you for creating this tag, and thank you to Marissa for tagging me in it. So I don't want to delay this too long, let's get into the books that I guiltily enjoy. So the first prompt is Goofy, which correlates with the first letter of the word guilty, G, and the prompt is a book that's not that serious and that makes you laugh. I had a really hard time with this one because I don't read classic like comedy memoirs very often, so I'm not reading a lot of like comedy in general, but I looked through kind of like my shelves on Goodreads, and the best I could come up with is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I absolutely love this book. I love Rainbow Rowell in general, but every time I read this book I just think it's so hilarious and like I laugh constantly, and that's not saying that there's not some serious themes in here, because there are, and of course like it's dramatic at some parts, but like it's also just a very fun and lighthearted book. Like, just to give you an idea of how like funny this book is, and this like book series in general is, the like tagline for this book is Simon Snow is the worst chosen one who's ever been chosen, and it's kind of like a parody of Harry Potter. So this series came out of her book Fangirl, and Fangirl is about a girl who writes fan fiction about this book series that is very, very similar to Harry Potter, and that series in the book is called Simon Snow. So it's like Simon Snow and the blah blah blah. So this was Rainbow Rowell's way of taking that fan fiction and making it into a real book. So it's like a book within a book that was published. It's weird. You wouldn't go into this expecting it to be so good, but it really is. And I think really all you need to know going into this book is that it is, like I said, a parody of Harry Potter. So if you remember all of the fan fiction that was coming off of Harry Potter that was placing Harry Potter and Draco Malfoy together, this is kind of like that, but it's Simon Snow and his like evil roommate Basilton. It's been a bit since I read this book, but I remember a quote that was said by Baz's sister, I think, and she's basically like picking on Baz for being captured by numpties, and it's just, the whole scene is just hilarious. Baz and Simon's dynamic together is hilarious. Just, it's great. It's a great book. So the next prompt is Underrated, so a book with kind of lower ratings that you like. And for this one I chose Jennifer's Body by Audrey Nixon. This has like 3.1 stars on Goodreads, which I don't really understand because I love this book and I love the film adaptation as well with Megan Fox. I don't have a physical copy of this book because when I was young, probably too young to read the book, I rented it from the library and read it that way, and then I found out there was a movie and watched the film adaptation afterwards. But I chose this because, like I said, the reviews on Goodreads aren't very good, and also like there's kind of a stigma against the book and the movie because a lot of people felt like it was basically like a Megan Fox, like a sexualized Megan Fox movie, which I disagree with personally. Like, obviously the movie is very like sexualized in some ways, but it's also like a black comedy, so I don't know. I thought it was actually really, really good, and I enjoyed the book a lot. That's probably why I have such a dark sense of humor, but you know. So this book is about these 2 best friends who live in this like really like small rural town called Devil's Kettle, and they've grown up attached at the hip, but they're very different people. So the protagonist of the book is a girl named Needy, and she's very like nerdy, kind of like shy or reserved a little bit, and her best friend is Jennifer, who is this cheerleader, and she's very outgoing and very like flirtatious. Basically what happens is they sneak out to a bar one night to see this band that's in town, and this band spots Jennifer in the crowd, and they kind of lure her away from the bar and end up using her or killing her in this like ritual, and Jennifer turns into something pretty bad, and things she starts to do things around town, and Needy, yeah, it's pretty dark. If you don't end up reading the book, which at this point I guess it is a pretty old book, I still would recommend the movie. Like, personally, I still think it's a good movie, even though people say that it's not, so that's just my recommendation. Okay, so the next letter is I, and the prompt for this is Inconceivable, so a book that you couldn't conceive liking based off of the premise. And I chose actually not the last book I read, but the book before, and that was Nosferatu by Joe Hill. It's not that I didn't expect to like the book, it's just that, like, so I had heard things about Joe Hill because obviously he is Stephen King's son, and I've just heard a lot of people like his writing. So the first book I had picked up from him was Nosferatu, just simply because, I don't know, I found the audiobook, I had heard that people liked it, but I had not read the synopsis at all. I had a whole different idea of what the book was about. I literally thought it was, I thought it was a vampire novel. Like, I thought it was like a horror, maybe gothic vampire novel. It is not whatsoever a vampire novel. Like, no, it's just not. And if I had actually read the synopsis before I had read the book, I probably wouldn't have read the book, because just going off the synopsis, it sounds way too, like, eccentric for what I'm used to. Like, I'm kind of that classic horror fan, classic thriller fan. I like the classic haunted houses, the paranormal thriller stuff. If I had read the synopsis of the book, then I probably would have set it down, and I'm so glad that I didn't. I'm glad that I went into it blind, because I was so intensely surprised by that book. It's a really hard book to surmise, I guess. I'll try my best. Basically, it's a supernatural thriller, and it follows a girl named Victoria McQueen, who she usually goes by Vic, and she has this knack for finding lost things. So the book follows her from childhood to adulthood, and as she's growing up, she like finds out this knack for finding things by going on her bike and crossing this bridge in the forest called the Shorter Way Bridge, and the bridge will take her to whatever she's seeking. And this kind of involves her in this this other guy named Charles Manx, who likes children a lot. And kind of like Vic, he's able to take these children places that shouldn't exist very fast. So he has this Rolls Royce that he kidnaps children in, and he takes them to a place called Christmas Town. And things happen. I feel like the synopsis gives too much away, so I'm really gonna leave it at that. And if that does not sound interesting to you, which honestly for me, probably not, because if I'm looking for a horror novel, I'm not really looking for a fantasy novel. But if that doesn't appeal to you, do not disregard this book. Seriously, it's so good. But at the same time, I tried watching the TV show, and I just couldn't get into it. I tried for a few episodes, but I just didn't like the casting. I didn't like the changes that they made from the book. It did not translate well. So I wouldn't recommend the TV show. Also, for a heads up, I listened to the book over audiobook, and the narrator for that audiobook is absolutely amazing. It's a woman, and she does such a great job of capturing like all of the voices in the narrative. So she's really good at those softer, like more childish voices, as well as those older, more mature, more masculine voices like Charlie Manx's voice. So highly recommend. Okay, so for the next prompt, I have a bit of a weird answer. So the prompt is for the letter L, and it is love, and the prompt is a book with a simple or basic or ordinary love story that you still connected to. So I typically connect with a lot of love stories. As long as they're not super cheesy, I can usually connect with them to some extent. But the first one that popped up into my mind was the relationship in The Outsiders by Stephen King. I have not read the book, The Outsiders, and I'm sorry about that. I do plan to. However, I have been keeping up religiously with the TV show on HBO, and it is so good. It's probably going to be like my favorite series of the year. It's so well written, it's so realistic, the casting is phenomenal, it's just so amazing. But the point of this is that there is a married couple in the show, and if you have watched the show, then you probably know who I'm talking about because it's the main couple. And it's such an ordinary relationship because it's this older married couple, but at the same time, like, every time I watch their dynamic together, my heart just, like, it hurts for them so much, because they're like this like very realistic married couple who has went through losses and changes, and they're just hanging on tight to one another, and they've grown stronger in the relationship, and it's just so admirable. And I just love them so much, and I'm terrified that they're gonna die or something in this show. For a short synopsis on The Outsider, it's like a supernatural thriller sort of. It takes place in this town where a little boy is murdered, like basically eaten, and the cops immediately suspect this like upstanding citizen who's like this, I think, soccer or baseball coach, and they go and arrest him in front of the whole town because they have like evidence that he was the one that murdered this kid. But the problem is that as they continue the investigation and as they like try to nail this guy down, this like baseball coach, they find footage of him away in another state, like at a conference. So it seems like there was something or someone like imitating him that committed this murder, and it's just, it caused all kind of turmoil, and you wouldn't think that such a simple thing could write a great TV show, but it absolutely does. It's phenomenal. Anyway, the second to the last prompt is TV for the letter T. So this is a TV show that you love but people generally think is trashy. There are a couple TV shows that I could probably talk about for this one, but the one that comes to mind first is Vampire Diaries. I mean, it's Vampire Diaries, but it just became such a stigmatized thing, and like it makes sense. It's not a great show, like it's really not. But yeah, I did watch a lot of Vampire Diaries. To be fair, I did not finish the series, so actually I'm probably like 3 seasons behind. But I got really far into it, and I always like really enjoyed it, even though it frustrated the crap out of me because it is a very like frustrating teen drama show. I could probably also mention Supernatural, although I will defend Supernatural to the end of my days. Like, there are some really good seasons and some really good moments and great acting in Supernatural, so actually, you know what, don't count that because Supernatural's a great show and it's not trashy at all. So, and I also have some anime that I could mention, like Fruits Basket, that's super cheesy, but you know, like that's anime sometimes. I've watched a couple K-dramas like Boys Over Flowers that are just roller coasters the whole way through. Does that make them trashy? I don't know, probably, but you know. So the last prompt is young for Y, and this says a book you read as an adult that you loved even though it was meant for someone way younger than you. I had a really hard time with this one. I didn't want to say the obvious answer, which is Harry Potter, but that kind of is the answer because I still reread Harry Potter yearly and I enjoy it just as much as I did the first time reading it, or more. So that's kind of like the classic answer, and that's gonna be my basic answer. I hate to be basic like that, but you know what? Harry Potter is my stuff. Anyway guys, this was just a short and quick little video that I'm super glad Marissa tagged me in. I'm gonna tag basically all of you to do this tag. Also, if you're not typically a booktuber but you would like to tell me your favorite guilty pleasure books below, please do that. I would love to know them because guilty pleasure books are the best. I mean, they just are. So yeah, leave that in your comment below. For specific people I want to tag, of course, there's Deanie at Deanie Books and Gaming, there's Memo at Memodith Books, a whole bunch of people that would be great at this tag. So yeah, hop on that. I will be announcing the winner for my Ollie's giveaway over the weekend, so keep an eye out for that on my social media pages. And if you haven't entered yet, that will end, I think I'll end it probably Friday night. So click the link above, watch the video, comment, blah blah blah. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I was gonna keep this a secret from you because, you know, like filming secrets, but I do have Batman pajamas on. So if you are also in pajamas, welcome to the team. I'm constantly in pajamas, more than you even realize. Anyway guys, I hope you have a good day. I will see you very soon. Bye!